excited to be here and bring to you our amazing guest, Chris Gustafson. And Foster will have more to share in a minute. But before we get started, we have two important pieces of business. First of all, the Job Father is brought to you by Joco Community Radio. Joco Community Radio is proud to be the voice of Johnson County, Texas, and is live 365 on the TuneIn Radio Network. Now, to listen or watch, simple. Go to tuneinjoco.com to choose where and how, or you can go both to your iPhone or Android App Store and download the Joco Community Radio app. You can check out the lineup. There's a lot of great things, but the best thing you're going to hear today is from Foster and I here at the Job Father. No, I'm joking, but hopefully we will be a good show to bless our listeners and continue to trudge forward, helping job seekers and individuals that are in career transition.
Yeah.
So before we get started and Foster tells us a little bit about Chris, let's bow our heads for a quick word of prayer. Father God, we are so honored to be here today. We just pray you bless and anoint this show, bless and anoint Chris and the wisdom he's bringing forth and in his career search as well. Lord God, we just ask that you would be here, help us to help those in the career transition and those looking for their next exciting opportunity. We know you're faithful and you will provide. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen. Foster, so excited to be here, Mr. Job Father. Tell us
Yeah. I'm really excited this morning because we got all recruiter all the time today. It's a recruiter chat.
Yeah. Recruiter show.
We're going to talk about we're going to share with you guys, us recruiter, how we think, our job, how we do it, how we think. Chris and I were the Verizon guys back in the day, years ago. We were at Verizon, and I was everybody's boss, I guess. But
I bet you were awesome.
That's kind of scary, isn't it? But we had a big team across North, Central, and South America. But God called us both to get out here, especially me and Dana, to get out here and help you job seekers know how to deal with the corporations. How do they think? What's going on in a recruiter's life? How can we understand, why we need to network and, build these. What's my word, Dana?
Relationship.
Did y'all hear that? Did y'all hear that?
Relationship. It's important.
And Chris turned around a whole region for us at Verizon when he was promoted into the north. I think Chris had the northeast. I think
northeast.
Northeast. A whole quadrant of the United States is incredible, guys. So Chris is one of those recruiters. I want you to connect with him. His name is Chris Gustafson, Gustafson, which you guys can see right there. And then, you know what? He is one of those recruiters that if you have a question about recruiting and how things are done and stuff like that, connect with Chris, talk with him, me or Dana. Those guys are much better recruiters than I ever was. But, but the good thing about Chris is we're going to talk to him today about our kind of stuff, but it's an all Chris day. Because the second part of the show, it's all Chris Day Friday. Second part of the show is going to be Chris. He's the job seeker. We're going to talk about why you guys ought to hire Chris. What are some of the things and applications that you guys should probably want to think about to hire Chris. So let's see who's with us. I see Mary Mondi. Oh, we cannot forget Mez. Guys.
Oh, Mez, our girl. She's our girl.
Mez, sometimes Mez is on with us. Mez is behind the scenes. She what we call a hype lady. What we mean by that is she is the person. She lets all you guys know what the show's all about. She invites guests. Everything about this show. She is
yells at us if
lady.
we're not doing things right now. I'm just kidding.
now this is messed up for some of you guys. Might identify with this. Some of you guys might, but some of you may not because you may not be old enough. But Mez is our Flavor Flav of the show.
Flavor Flav.
Yeah, Mezzy
I
Magic. Yeah,
remember Flavor Flav.
Mez, we appreciate you and love you and thank you for everything that you're doing. Maybe I'll start calling you Flavor Flav. If you slap my face, then I'll stop calling you Flavor Flav. Okay,
Let's hope it doesn't
so
go that
guys,
far.
in the beginning of the show, uh, before I get going, I want to ask Dana to bring us in with prayer. And then I am going to share with you guys at that point some landings that we've had because you're going to hear us say today, guys, keep your foot on the gas pedal. It's holidays. Enjoy time with your
Mhm,
company, but
mhm,
keep what did I say with your company that you're trying to get into. Keep your
mhm.
foot on the gas of job search, and enjoy time with you. Take a step back, a little bit, but enjoy your time with your family. But keep your ear to the keep your ear to the ground
That's
with the
right.
relationships that you build and all that sort of thing during all along the way. So let me go over and see who we're going to congratulate today. Well, Greg Wolfkiel. Greg,
Go,
when I
Greg.
first when I first met Greg, I said Greg Wolfkill, but I think it's Greg Wolfkiel. He's got a new job as an internal audit associate at
Awesome.
MBO Partners. I got to get that right.
Wow.
My buddy Melissa Painter has got a position. She is a coach at Optum. And guys, I got excited because I saw my buddy, my main man, 50 grand.
Me man 50
Kevin
grand.
Kevin Westerfield. Kevin, he's with the Texas Legends, and a lot of you guys know that live around the Frisco area know all about
Yeah.
the Texas Legends. He's a director of business development, and if you guys knew Kevin, you would understand that he is and should be in business development. This guy is
Yeah.
absolutely awesome. Any company that has him on board, you guys are gonna win. Get ready for the W column because you're gonna be there. Now,
Woo.
you might remember this guy, Dana, John Rodriguez, out of our IT group and out of Frisco Connect and
Yeah.
such.
Hey,
Uh,
John.
John's got a new position. John is really, really good in IT, and he just floats along. And
That's great.
and he's a lead systems operation engineer at Insight Global, and Insight Global's been around for a while, and it's a good
Mm-hmm.
company. So
Yeah.
congratulations, John. And I'm gonna do one more. Um, so why don't we uh, congratulate Dolores Williams? So I like that last name.
Yeah.
Dolores Williams. She got a new position. She's an operations manager at Elmore Custom Homes. So we all
Elmore.
need that custom homes. Absolutely. So congratulations. Now I'm going to get back to introducing Chris. Guys, Chris Gustafson, Gustafson, is right there. Chris and I are brothers. We are family. We have been family for a long time. Jeff Little, Rex Sowett, we love you guys. David Williams, that's our whole crew there.
Hey,
But
David.
Chris and I worked at Verizon. We were the Verizon dudes back in the day. And you
The
know what?
dudes.
Uh, Chris, let's talk about some of the things that job seekers should know. I'm going to start off with something real simple. Guys, earlier I suggested that you guys connect with Chris, you connect with Dana on LinkedIn. Here's the deal, guys. Don't just hit that button.
Mm-hmm.
Let us know, hey, Foster, we want to connect with you because we heard the job seeker radio network. We saw Chris on there. Dana, I want to connect with you because you are Job Father Connection Radio. And if you are on your cell phones, guys, I know it's a little different. You have to go down and Chris, it's those three little buttons. Is it no, it's not the three little buttons, or is it?
Nope, it is. It is.
Okay.
It'll open a new little menu and it'll say, connect and add note.
Yeah, yeah. Add a note, guys. Make sure and always add a note. Uh, Let someone know why you want to connect with them. It adds value because if you're ever going to have a conversation with that person, you got to have a starting point. Networking is about connections, guys. It's about building those relationships. Now, no, you can't build a relationship with everybody out there, you know, but the people that are willing, when you run into a Dana Gingrich, when you run into a Chris Gustafson, these people you will be able to build a relationship with. And you know what? They are recruiters. So don't you think that if you're in job search, you might want to connect with Chris Gustafson? You think you might want to connect with Dana Gingrich? And Maz, guys, connect with Maz. You will find her on LinkedIn as MEZ, Maz
Mez.
Maserati. Maz Maserati. She's got a real cool looking picture on there and everything. But guys, that's what it's all about. We have a calling to help others, and we're the people that you should connect with when you're connecting. So we will connect you to people. Dana and I do it all the time. We will connect you to other people that are relevant to your search. And that relevance word is very, very important. So, guys, let's talk about working with a recruiter.
Yep.
So, Dana, when people connect with you, and Dana, I see you, I'm interested in the position that you have there at Galderma. Dana will probably, if she is not the recruiter, she will probably be able to direct you to the recruiter that you need to be talking to. So, don't you think you want to be nice to Dana? What do you think about that, Dana? I think
No, absolutely. I think that, when you're considering any opportunity, and I'm going to get Chris to weigh in on this, but when you're considering any opportunity and you're connected with HR or it is important to remember that they're part of the interview. Okay. If you don't pass them, you don't go any further. You don't meet the hiring leader. So having an effort to connect the recruiter, get to know the recruiter a little bit, articulate your interests is critical. Chris, talk to us a little bit about your experience as a recruiter and give us an example on each side of the table. An example at some point, one who really impressed you and you went above and beyond for them. And then somebody that, give us a scenario where you, on the flip side, had someone that could have been a great candidate, but they were either short, pushy, challenging. Explain it a little bit and kind of what the end result was.
Sure, and thank you so much for having me here. I'm loving it already, and I'm only just now gearing up. But I shared this specific story just yesterday when I was in my table networking at South Lake Focus Group.
All right.
And this is, you asked me to do the good example and the bad example.
Right?
But I'm going to start with the bad example because that one's top of mind.
Don't do it.
Told it yesterday. So years and years ago, it was after I had already left Verizon. I was with my next telecom company, which is no longer in existence. Which might be
it's not around anymore.
But I was at a job fair, and it's important when dealing with recruiters, right? It's important to know kind of what their specific function is, right? Every recruiter on the planet has a list of jobs or a list of orders that they need to fill. Bottom line, flat out. Now, I specialized in my 20 years. I have always kind of gravitated towards sales. Finding salespeople for all kinds of organizations and different industries. When I was with this other telecom company, I was at this job fair, and it was a very specific division of this telecom company that I was recruiting sales people for in about half the country. So I'm standing at the table, and a gentleman comes up to me and starts asking me questions. He had IT project management background or something like that, and started telling me about a job that was at this company. I'm like, I'm sorry, I don't know that job. We all have, specific areas of responsibility, and I don't know that. I'm here to staff the sales team. And you'd think, well, I don't know. At that point, he took whatever materials he was holding in his hand, he slammed them down on the table, and he put his finger up in my face, and he said, it's your job to find me a job. And
Oh
obviously
my God.
I had never encountered that before.
Yeah.
And Foster will attest, I am the most laid back guy on the planet.
Yeah, he is.
But I tell you what, I'm not a doormat.
Yeah.
And I looked at him and I said, you know, it would be a big surprise to my boss to know it's my job to find you a job. I've got this list of job orders here.
Right.
And you ain't on it. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
And so I had to kind of refocus his brain a little bit. The thing that probably cost him the most is that when I got back to the office, I emailed every recruiter in the company this guy's resume.
Don't talk to this guy.
Exactly. I said, if he comes across, do not talk to him, do not screen him, do not invite him in. He is not the kind of person that we want to talk to.
Yeah.
So that's, you know, that's on the one end of the spectrum. And when it comes, and I'll be thinking of a specific instance of the other end of the spectrum when things go good, but I can tell you generally that, you know, recruiters, a lot of times they're overworked. You know, they've got way too many jobs than they can fill. And you know, I had a recruiter on my team this year. He had 80 jobs.
Oh my God. Oh my
God. And for some reason he
well,
was a machine.
That is not cool.
It's not. There's a lot of things that were broken in the system, but he was a machine, and his clients loved him. You know, his internal clients with the company loved him. His candidates loved him. He just made it work. But you know, when somebody, and not all recruiters have that many jobs, but they have, you know, a couple dozen. And you got to remember that you're one candidate, and if there's 15 candidates on each job, you know, you're running into the hundreds of candidates and interviews that you're trying to schedule. So even if you have had a conversation, and more than one conversation with the recruiter, if you reach back out to them and you're in a new week and you haven't talked to them this week, just remind them. It's like, you know, hey, Chris, you and I talked last week about the account executive role in Detroit, because right then the name and the name and location of the position is going to be the brain teaser that the recruiter needs. Because if you come, you know, unless you've got a unique name, sure. But if you call up and say, hi, Chris, this is John, you know, any update this week? John?
Yeah.
Can you help me out a little bit? But the candidates that are, honestly, it's the ones that are easy to do business with, right?
Yeah.
The ones that make it easy, the ones who identify themselves, the ones who put their phone number and email in every communication so you don't have to go look for it. The ones who are competent, you know, just in the job that they're looking for, right? In their background, in their experience. You know, those are the ones that make the process so much easier all the way through. So I'll see if I can think up of a really good example of one that works. Went real
while
well.
you're thinking, one that I had, you know, there are candidates that would email, they weren't over the top, once a week, and polite, how are you doing? Just wanted in, looking forward to hearing from you, very upbeat and bubbly. And there is truth that people hire people they like because they visualize their work experience with that person. And if they don't, and if someone were to come up and slam their fist on a table, Chris, would you want to work with that person every day? Absolutely not. A person with a good attitude just really embraces all of those around them. Yeah, I want to work. What are your thoughts, Chris?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, do you want to? I mean, because the older I get, the more culture means to me than it ever has.
Right.
Oh,
I
amen to
don't
that.
want to be in a culture where I have to constantly watch my back or cover my, backside.
Uh-huh.
And so that's important. And so as the gatekeeper, right? I tell people all the time, the reason I'm a recruiter is I like being the front door of the company. I'm not in HR on the HR business partner side because I don't want to be on the back door when people are being shown the door and asked to
Issued
leave
out. Yeah.
because of behavior or whatever. And so it just culture matters. And if you come in and you're professional and again you're easy to work with, that makes it a lot easier in the decision making process.
Yeah,
Those
guys,
that are abrasive,
it ain't gonna work. It ain't gonna work.
yeah, no, it's going to make it a
One
lot
thing
tougher.
that we do, guys, one thing that we do now, there's two kind of recruiters, two, sometimes even three. Chris and I, when we work for Verizon, when you're dealing with Dana, Dana works for a company. She works for Galderma. So when Dana gets a rec, and what we mean is a rec is a requirement that a division has, or the division manager has, or whatever. We are going to go and sit and talk with that hiring manager. We're going to say, okay, I got this piece of paper that says this, but what are you really looking to hire? So I don't waste your time with sending candidates to you. I might send a candidate to you that's got everything on this paper, but he might have a foul attitude kind of thing. Now, you don't want to bring somebody into your company with a foul attitude. They're going to mess up,
Yep.
the people that work with you on the team are going to look at you like, what in the world are you thinking bringing this dude in here? Or lady. And you know what? Uh, then you're going to have recruiters that are going to call you guys. A second type of recruiter is going to be, sometimes we refer to them as third party recruiters. They're going to be companies that help companies that have so many jobs. The companies realize, hey, we got all these jobs, but we might have a very important job that we really, really need to get some candidates in on, and I need to get somebody hired this week, kind of thing. Well, and at Verizon, Chris and I had to deal with a lot of what we call vendors. Those people, guys, I'm going to get close because I like that relationship thing. They should have a good relationship with that hiring manager. They should be able to answer most of the questions that you might have about that particular opportunity because they have that relationship going on. So, guys, job seekers, and Mary Mondi, you and I talked about this earlier when we're talking about that culture. You know what? If your recruiter, your third party recruiter, cannot convince you that they have that relationship with that company, and if they really have a relationship, you probably won't even have to ask them a whole lot of questions. They'll be glad to tell you, this is my relationship, and I've worked with Dana for this time, and me and Dana, we go and eat sushi and all this kind of thing. I know Dana. Well, you know what? That is a relationship, and you can probably work with that person because Dana is going to be close enough to that hiring manager in the company that is going to be able to answer your questions about the thing. And you know what? If Dana has a relationship with that company, with that hiring manager, you know whose resumes he's going to look at first? Do you know whose resumes that have been submitted to him through Dana? Do you know who he's going to get on there and talk to about this Chris Gustafson that just just submitted to me? Because our relationship, our recruiters, guys, our relationship is very, very important, and we constantly have to build that relationship with the very people that we're serving. And if we send them a person that's going to slam his hand down on the desk and say it's your job to get me a job, believe me, that's not the person that you want to bring into your company. So I
No.
completely hear what you guys are saying, Dana and Chris. I completely understand that.
Yeah.
Yeah. As a talent acquisition leader at Galderma, I work very closely with the team and also on a global level to set up a
Uh-huh.
recruitment strategy meeting training, as well as stakeholder management training. And I create that content and conduct it globally because back when I was recruiting, that was one of the most important pieces of what I did. And we can talk about that in the next segment, because I am sure Chris will be able to really speak to his experience and his processes. But it makes all the difference. And as a candidate coming in, you know, you want to make sure that you are building relationships, not pushing people away. And by the way, we're about 1 minute away from our break. So when we hear the music, you'll hear us kind of step back, and then we'll be back in the second half to talk to Chris a little bit more about his experience, the types of roles he is looking for, his philosophy with recruiting, because you would be remiss if you didn't bring Chris into your team. And I can say that because we know anybody we bring on the show has the gold stamp of approval from who else?
That's right.
None other than Foster Williams and myself.
That's right. That's right. The Job Father gold seal of approval. The stamp, Chris.
Yep.
You got that. And Chris and I have been together our whole lives almost.
Yeah. And that's the beauty of this, everybody. Most of you know Foster, but if you don't, Foster has such a deep network of individuals that he knows personally, that he's worked with or volunteered with in his large network. And so if Foster recommends someone, that means a lot to a lot of executives and leaders throughout the globe. And we will be back here in just a few minutes. We'll see you for the second half of the Job Father.
Nice.
Why have thousands of aspiring authors teamed up with Christian Faith Publishing to publish their book? Because Christian Faith Publishing is an author-friendly publisher who understands that your labor is more than just a book. We provide authors freedom and flexibility throughout the publishing process, professional book editing, award-winning design, and some of the highest royalty structures in the publishing industry. And as always, you will retain 100% of the rights to your book.
I was looking to find a company that I could trust, one that assisted in the editing process completely.
The most important qualities that I was looking for was a publisher who was honest and upfront, no hidden costs or fees, and owning the rights to my own work.
Christian Faith Publishing will publish, market, and sell your books in all major bookstores, online booksellers, as well as specialty Christian bookstores. Call for your free author submission kit.
800-978-4812. 800-978-4812. 800-978-4812. That's 800-978-4812.
Fast Track Student Loans can get your student loans out of default, stop any wage garnishments, stop collection calls, and stop seizure of your tax refund. Give yourself a break. Stop the stress and get your student loan payments down to as little as $25 a month based on what you can afford to pay. 800-709-4395. 800-709-4395. 800-709-4395. 800-709-4395.
Out-of-date carpet giving you the blues? Tired of your old dingy and broken tile? Let my friends at the Floor Store in Cleveland, Texas give your home the makeover it deserves. This is Old Taco Joe coming to you for the Floor Store. Whether it's carpet, tile, wood flooring, or real wood laminate, the Floor Store can cover all of your flooring needs. Located at 405 West Henderson Street in Cleveland, Texas, owner Brent Harris can help. Shower tile, tub surrounds, even backsplashes. Give him a call today at 817-641-9444. The Floor Store, they got you covered.
Joco Community Radio. Listen live at tunein.com.
Welcome back, Job Father Nation, to the second part of our show. We are very excited to have you listening. And once again, another shout out to our wonderful Meg Rose Caterio, Mez, for being our awesome rock to help this show. It wouldn't be what it is without Mez. Well, Foster, so excited that you brought Chris on. Wow, what a great individual. What a great individual.
I want you guys to hire Chris. You guys, especially if you are a company that's laden with sales opportunities, you need a sales recruiter. Let me tell y'all something. Look here. You need to be talking to Chris Gustafson, Gustafson. It took me a long time to get that down. And there's another Gustafson out there. It's Chris's brother. But Chris is the sales recruiter. And I see I cannot overlook my man, 50 grand, Jason Hopper is with us. And Jason, that is a guy you guys want to connect with. He is a coach at the Jewish Family Services of Dallas, guys. So look up jfsdallas.org, I believe is correct. Jason, tell me if I got that right or wrong. But there are a number of things that are at the JFS organization that you guys, job seekers, can take advantage of for free. And Jason is one of the coaches. And my man Rex Sowett is with us. And of course, I already said we got Mary Mondi with us. And I see Crystal out there as well in North Carolina. Hey, Crystal. Crystal Farber. And Rex asked a question that I want to pose to Chris. Question for Chris and Dana. Have any of your companies devoted high priority to strategic workforce planning?
Short answer, yes. It's interesting. In my career, there has been, and it's my most recent, where they were growing so much, they had to put something in place. I mean, because they're like, okay, when somebody's maxing out their performance in this role, what's next?
Yeah.
Where are the promotional opportunities? Where's the training? All of that. So the organization I was with was really starting to put some resources into that.
Yeah.
So they could map out, do the career mapping and formal training for all positions, not just certain positions within the company.
Yeah. I will say the company I work for now, Korn Ferry, has an incredible career mapping software. They have definitely dedicated resources to that. So previously, not so much, but in Korn Ferry, the new company I'm with, I'm with Korn Ferry RPO at Galderma, they have incredible software and tools, as well as an incredible mentor program to help with workforce planning, promotions, etc. And I'm extremely impressed with that, because if you don't have that in the company, you're going to mitigate risk of higher if you don't have it, then you're going to be having higher turnover, employee or lack of employee satisfaction, because people want to grow. They want to continue to promote. They want to continue to learn new things. Most people aren't happy in a stagnant environment. So yeah, it's a good question. But Chris, tell us a little bit more. So your company had some layoffs. Your company had some layoffs. Now you are looking for your next home. Tell us a little bit about the industry, the type of role, the level of role. We know that your heavy preference is sales, but you are so experienced you could truly do anything. Tell us a little bit more.
Beyond sales, yeah.
Yeah, so tell us a little bit more of what your opportunity would look like right now.
You bet. Thank you. Yes, my history has always been in the sales realm, and I learned that lesson quite well when I was working with Foster, because that was back when the tech bubble burst.
Yeah, we had a lot of sales going on.
And I tell you, I was sitting on a floor of recruiters there in the shared services building over there at Verizon.
Oh my God.
And literally from one week to the next, most of that floor was empty, and most of the folks that disappeared were the IT recruiters. And I was recruiting sales, and I was still there, and that was a very valuable lesson for me. I'm like, okay, even in the hard times, companies are still going to need to sell, because that's what they do. And so that's what I stuck with. And a lot of people through the years, I can't believe, how do you talk to salespeople? I'm like, I just do. It's easy for me, because a lot of people don't like talking to salespeople.
Yeah, and salespeople are ready to talk, boy, I tell you.
And I always flip the script and say, well, I don't do IT. I can't do IT. I don't know the language. I don't, it's difficult for me. So there's people like me to kind of cover for the IT recruiters and vice versa. So
Chris, outside of sales, what do you like? What have you had some success, or what do you have an affinity for hiring for outside of sales?
there's not a specific, you know, group or, you know, type of position
Yeah, we
necessarily,
get it
but
all
what I have
thrown at us.
found the most satisfaction with is coming into a smaller company, and some of the parameters I have around that. I'm looking for a company um, in Fort Worth, you know, Tarrant or Denton County. You know, Denton works too. That's somewhere between, you know, 500 employees to, you know, maybe 3,000. They're growing, and right now they're spending way too much money on those external agency fees.
Oh
They're
yeah.
on the bubble thinking about bringing their recruiting function in house. I've done that at a couple different places, and just being a part of that process, hiring the team, you know, while making sure that, you know, all the plates are still spinning.
Yeah.
You know, making sure the ATS is functioning, making sure candidates are still getting screened, you know, managers are still getting what they need, while putting policies in place and procedures in place. You know, kind of having my fingers in a lot of different places. That's
Uh-huh.
what, honestly, that lights me up. That's what I get most excited about when there's a big job
Yeah.
to do, and
Mhm.
Yeah.
and a lot of elements to it. So
That was my
um,
job at Verizon. Yeah, putting all those processes and making sure that people know how to get things done when it comes to recruiting and hiring, because hiring managers can be very, very tough on recruiters, guys. And
yep.
a lot of times, recruiting has, in some companies, well, a whole lot of companies, has a high turnover rate. And that's real hard. Let's be fair to the hiring managers. So they build a relationship with a recruiter that they like. That recruiter understands what they're doing, what kind of people they like to hire. They built a good team with that recruiter, and the next thing you know, that recruiter's gone, and then you hired
Yeah.
this Dana Gingrich
Yep.
person, and she's new with the company, and now you got to build a new relationship with her, and you gotta
Yep.
share with Dana some of the things that worked for you personally as a hiring manager, and then you got to share what the recruiter before did, and see where that settles with Dana. But
Yeah.
building a relationship takes a little bit of time. And guys, you recruiters out there, like Chris would always let people know where they stood. Chris would take the time that a lot of recruiters don't take the time with you to know what's going on in the process, where you stand. But I've heard Chris tell a person, listen, this is where we are. This is straight up what's going on. And, I understand. I expect to be contacting you by Wednesday of next week. If you do not hear from me by 12, 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock in the afternoon, Wednesday of next week, you call me.
Yeah.
Because
Yep.
when we were talking about that situation earlier where a recruiter had 80 recs, come on now, y'all. Uh, if a person's got 80 recs, that recruiter's going to need help. And a lot of times that help is going to come from the candidate, you guys. You
Mhm.
Yeah.
guys.
Yeah. That's a good point.
Hmm.
Yep. Absolutely. Absolutely.
So, Chris, are you
Um,
looking for a leadership role, a lead role, a supervisor manager,
That's
or
a good
senior
question. Yeah.
recruiter? Like, that's what I meant by
Great
level.
question.
Yeah.
Great question, and thank you for asking that. I think the language that most everybody to understand would be talent acquisition manager.
Okay.
Uh-huh.
Yep.
That's kind of the level. But like the company I came from, I was a senior recruiter.
Yeah.
But in that company, the title senior, like if you whatever your title was, if it had senior in front of it,
You were like
you
a
were a people
lead, a
manager.
leader. Mhm.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it was a management position. So
Yes.
depending on how the company interprets that,
Mhm.
but to make it simple for most people to get their brain around, conceptually, it's talent acquisition manager.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. That makes
I
sense.
remember
Yeah.
when we used to be, I remember when we used to be personnel. Then next thing you knew, we were recruiters. And then we got that high when Chris and I were at Verizon years ago, we got called talent acquisition
Yeah.
Yeah.
executives. Oh my God. But I had some time with Dana's company, with Corn Ferry guys, and kind of getting back to Rex's previous question. I kind of had a fairly lofty position with Corn Ferry. So I was in leadership, uh, and what we call the industrial vertical at that time, a lot of DoD, aerospace, that sort of thing. And guys, when you're dealing, and a lot of you job seekers out there that are in aerospace or DoD, you will understand some of this. But if you don't, listen to what I'm about to tell you. So a lot of times, guys, we as companies, you might be dealing with a Raytheon, you might be dealing with L3 Communications. A lot of times, they are bidding for work, some of these huge projects, and you know what, they have to be able to prove to the client, prospective client company, that they are ready to attack and bring aboard the recruiters to find the people that they need to have to do that project. So that workforce planning has to be in place, guys. We have to sit down and we have to talk about these things. Now, you don't have to have the whole, and as Corn Ferry didn't do when I was there. I myself, Hubert Johnson, if you're out there listening, you remember this, because when I brought Hubert aboard, I brought Hubert aboard in a position above mine. And Hubert and I were called into those meetings. We're going to sit down and we're going to talk about what NASA's got going on. We're going to talk about what we've done with them in the past. We're going to talk about who we worked with NASA in the past. And this is what they're looking to do. And can we tackle this, guys? You guys that have been involved with NASA in the past, can we do this for NASA? Can we do this for Raytheon? Can we do this for Crane Aerospace? I mean, it goes on and on and on, some of the things that we did. But Rex, I appreciate that question, because that got me all, got the juices flowing. And we did a lot of that at Verizon as well. You probably remember me, Gary, and Kathy, Chris, trying to hash out all this stuff. Well, do we have enough recruiters to can we get the people aboard to do this thing? Do we have people that we can reassign from things that they're on right now to do that? And that kind of communication had to come from a Foster or a Kathy with those hiring managers in order to get that done. So that is some of that workforce planning that we're talking about, that is in my mind with what we're talking about, because of the position that I did have with those companies. And it's important, guys, to know these things. When a company, a third-party recruiter, calls you about a company in aerospace, or any company actually, find out what the relationship is with that recruiter. Say, what do you know about that company? Where are they going with this? Why are we hiring for this sort of thing? What kind of people, and a timeline that I may or may not have if you hire me as a recruiter to come into your company and find people. What am I finding them for? What are we doing here? Those questions, guys, are very, very probing. But you know what? Y'all need to know that before you take a job with a company, because sometimes you take a job with a company and you never see your family. You say, my family's at home somewhere. I don't know. I'm up here. Because I think on a normal stance, we probably spend more time with the people at the office than we do with our own family a lot of times. So you got to make sure to get these any job you take, guys, you got to know what you're getting yourself into. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah. And that's all really good stuff, Foster. And I think it's important for candidates to know that when they are talking with a recruiter from a third party or agency recruiter, now it's important to know that every conversation you have is a micro interview. So keep that in mind. The impression you give in every conversation is important.
Everyone.
But I'm going to go on a limb here, and some may disagree.
I like it. I love it.
Some may agree. But I think if you're approached by a third-party recruiter, and believe me, they fill a very important function. I don't think there's any type of recruiting that is more important or better than another. By any means. They each have a very specific purpose. But if you're approached by a third-party recruiter, absolutely, like all those questions Foster, just went through, ask that recruiter. Well, how long you been working with him? What do you know about the specific hiring manager? How long you been working with him or her? Pepper them with questions.
Yes.
Do it happily. Do it professionally. Because because I will say, and this is what some may disagree with, is that I think you've got a little more latitude in that relationship as a candidate with a third-party recruiter to kind of test the boundaries a little bit, right? But that's why I preface it by every conversation you have is a micro interview. But if you're peppering them with questions, ultimately, they're going to know. It's like, oh yeah, this person comes prepared and they want to know and they want to be prepared.
Yeah.
So, and it is absolutely in your best interest to go into any interview situation knowing as much as you possibly can, not just about the role in the job description, but about that very important relationship.
There it is.
So
Rex has got a good question. And recruiters, when you guys and Chris and all of the recruiters out there, when you are interviewing for a position, you want to know what kind of load your recruiters have. So Rex says, based on the comment that I said earlier about 80 requisitions, a good question is there a targeted number of requisition load that aligns with the desired recruiter? So what is normal around here, guys? You want to hire a recruiter? What's normal at your company for the rec load? Does it, and it will, because I've been involved, it's my job to get in the weeds of this thing. With each department, it's going to be probably different because of the type of person that you're hiring, and a lot to do with you hiring managers. What type of hiring managers and what understanding do you guys have? Are you willing to listen to the recruiter? Are you going to run roughshod over your recruiter? Because if you do, you wasting a whole lot of time. I'll tell you right there with Foster Williams, but you don't have to worry about hiring me because I don't want to work for y'all. So anyway, but to finish Rex's deal, is the number, is it 20 Rex? Is it 40 Rex? Is it 50 Rex? Because some companies, because of where they are staffed, when they pick up a new client, it may overload the car that they're already driving in. So what is the plan to manage that?
Yep.
Yeah. So Foster, if you had to describe Chris in terms of the type of person, like his, so, we have two sets of skills. We have like your hard skills, which are the skills that meet the criteria, the job description. Then you have your soft skills, this person's personality, their strengths as far as their personality traits. When you worked with Chris, how would you describe Chris?
Oh, that's an easy question. You want to do exactly what I did, was put Chris in contact with those managers, with those departments, because Chris is really, really good about sitting down. He will make those folks sit down. You want me to find you something? You got to tell me what it is that we're going to do, and you're going to tell me what's going to be successful with you.
Yeah.
I want to sit down. I'm going to serve you, but I need time with you if I'm going to serve you. So the best thing that Chris is going to do, and plus, if he's hiring salespeople, they're talkative personality types anyway. So what I saw Chris do, what I observed Chris do, was sit down with those hiring managers and say, "Hey, you got this need. Why all these people? What are you guys doing?" And when you're going to hire for this position, what coverage does it have? What do you want these people to do exactly? And how do you want these people to do it? And is there a room for growth in this position? Because that can and will, especially in today's time, determine who you're going to represent to that hiring manager for that position.
Yeah. But what would you describe his traits like? Like, for example, people would describe me as a go-getter, an outside the box thinker.
Word, relationships, and behind those relationships, whatever is required. If it's a go-getter, well, it's going to be a go-getter. But good question, Dana. But Chris you got to allow Chris to be able to build those relationships. Give him the time. Don't weigh him down with this, that, and the other. If Chris tells you that he needs this and he needs to go see this person and he needs to talk, you need to allow him to do that. Management, you need to allow Chris to do it what you're hiring him for. Don't dare put, with a guy like Chris and a lady like Dana, don't dare put handcuffs on them. You got a job, and I had turned down 2 jobs myself because there were handcuffs. Chris is a go-getter. Chris is going to be the person that you're going to have talk to your people, and he's going to sit down. He's going to come down with, he's going to plan. Chris is going to share that plan, say, hey, this is what we're going to do. If at Verizon, he said, okay, if y'all need to talk to Foster, talk to him, because Foster will give me the time to do what I need to do and the budget to do what I need to do. That is what you want to do with Chris, because Chris has been recruiting for 20 years. Well, maybe a little bit more, but we won't go into that.
Yeah, we don't need to go into that.
Well, Chris, how would you describe yourself if you think about your traits and what you bring to the table in
These are
terms
good
of
questions,
your
Dana.
personality and integrity, those types of things? How would you describe yourself?
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you. I Foster, thank you for all that you mentioned, and
those are observations.
I'm not going to disagree with any of that, but yes, I think I lead with the relationship side of things. I definitely need to know the parameters of, okay, what are we doing here? What do we need to do? What's the goal? What are we trying to accomplish? Okay, and if I'm building a team, or if I'm putting a whole recruiting function in place, okay, I've got the experience and the knowledge to do that. Now give me the bandwidth to go do it. Leave those handcuffs off. And oh, by the way, if I have a question or I need some help, believe me, I'm going to raise my hand. I'm going to come standing in front of you and say, okay, how, because I am new here. How do we traditionally handle this? Here's my idea, but how does it fit into this culture? So
you have professional discernment. That's awesome.
Yep. Yes.
And Dana, to extend on your question, and I don't mean to cut Chris off, but I want to throw a couple of more things out there on that question. That's a good question. That's an excellent question, because you're talking to someone that managed. Well, I don't want to say I managed. Chris actually managed me more than I managed him, but I had the position. But guys, here's the thing. You've got to give Chris what he needs. He will tell you what he needs to get it done. We had, and I'm not going to call names, we had a couple of people that were in the Northeastern Division of the United States at Verizon that were not getting the job done. I'm not saying that, they had the best opportunity to do that, because the managers were pissed off. But I promoted Chris from a sourcer, Dana, and put him, because of my observations of Chris in this relationship thing, because everybody knows that's how I operate anyway, so that's my language. So I put Chris and promoted him into the position over the Northeast, and he turned the Northeast around in less time than a year. They were happy with us. They wanted to see Chris, and Chris had relationships with the end partners that we were serving, all of that stuff in a short period of time. He turned around that whole thing. And honestly, because of what happened, I got a management award.
That's great. That is so great.
So companies, that's Chris.
The dirty little secret, they call it a secret sauce, but it's not a secret. All I had to do was return phone calls and acknowledge emails and say, I've got it. And that's not the only place I've done that. I mean, that's just a fundamental template, and like Foster had mentioned earlier about, keeping candidates updated. There's been times I've told candidates, I'll call you by Friday, with an update. And sometimes that turns into just an email, but, just letting the candidate know, hey, I told you I'd call you on Friday. Unfortunately, I don't have an update. I wasn't unable to connect with the hiring manager. If you don't hear from me by Wednesday, give me a call.
Yeah.
A lot of times we recruiters go, Chris, I'm sorry.
Well, no. I mean, but if you're a candidate and you're in the job search and it's a Friday afternoon and you're waiting for an update, even though there's really not an update in that communication, there's still a communication to know, okay, yes, Chris is still working on it.
Yeah.
And he's reaching out. So at least I don't have the answer I want, but at least I know this is going into extra innings, if you will.
Yeah.
As the process goes, guys, as being a process dude, sometimes I submitted Chris to you guys for this position. We recruiters, and I know Dana's heard this before because we've had this in conversation. Oh, I loved I love that Chris that you sent to me. Hold on to him. How in the world am I going to hold on to somebody when they need a job to feed their family? And a lot of times, guys, there were unforeseen things that happened in the department that didn't produce an answer as fast as we wanted it to. So when you have that communication live going on with Chris, exactly the way he just told you about, that is how you take care and you keep up with those clients, because then you can tell the hiring manager, hey, this guy has got to get a job. He's got to answer an offer that he's got from another company. If you want him, you're going to have to go get him, Mr. Hiring Manager. Oh, I hear music, Dana.
I hear music.
Yep.
Well, thank you so much, Chris, for being on the show.
Yes.
Thank you for having me. This was fantastic.
Have a great week.
Have a wonderful week.
Yeah, we'll see you
Merry
next Friday.
Yep.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
From Venus and Grandview to Godly, this is the voice of Johnson
Here's
County.
important new information from the Diabetes Solution Center for you, a family member, or a loved one suffering with diabetes. If you have lost your provider, or if you need a provider for diabetic supplies, you may qualify to receive your diabetic testing supplies now with little or no out-of-pocket cost, regardless of your age. All you need is Medicare or private insurance to be potentially eligible. Call the Diabetes Solution Center right now for details. Just takes a couple of minutes. Our friendly, knowledgeable agents will give you free, no obligation information, handle all the insurance paperwork, and make sure your supplies are delivered directly to your door for free.
Call U.S. Medical Supply 24 hours a day. 800-597-9323. 800-597-9323. 800-597-9323. Call right now. 800-597-9323.
Let's be honest. Wheelchairs are heavy, bulky, and ugly.